Welcome to the Next Level podcast. This show is for leaders, builders, and bold thinkers who know they're meant for more and are finally ready to stop waiting and start moving. The Next Level Lab is where confidence meets clarity, where identity turns into action, and where bold decisions create real momentum. Here we'll talk about leadership, growth, energy, mindset, and what it actually takes to build a life and a business that feel aligned, powerful, and totally yours. You'll hear real conversations, real stories, real strategies. No fluff, no playing small, and no waiting until you feel ready. This podcast is your permission to lead louder, move faster, and own your next level. I'm your host, Kelli Wiley. Let's freaking go. Welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Lab podcast. This is now the third take that we've taken, which I've joked about. I would never do this wrong again, but I'm going to be vulnerable. We're going to be honest. We've been here for 3 hours trying to record this podcast, and this happened after the first episode that I did with the Dapper Hiker as well, and I was like, we're dialed in now, and now we've made 3 more errors to get to here. SD card filled. I don't even know what happened the first time. Something didn't work, and here we are for the third time. So unfortunately, when you're my friend, you get hustled into being in the experience, but we're vulnerable, we're honest, and we're doing it a third time. So I'm so excited to have you here. Around talking about burnout, around sharing burnout, yes, which is a space that I think we're all in. We're all in, we've all experienced, most high achievers have experienced, you've experienced physically and emotionally, I've experienced physically and emotionally, and so let's start right out the gate for the third time. How did you first realize that you were like, oh crap, this is burnout, this is something I can't recover from intentionally, like I have to really change some things to get through this?
Yeah, well, early on in my career, as a paralegal, I was working on some humanitarian relief projects, and they were very emotionally tolling, and they were projects that would span over a year to a year and a half in time, advocating for somebody else. And I realized in my behavior to the people in my life outside of work, that I was, oh my gosh, it's snowing. Sorry, I was like, what's happening out there?
We're coming full circle out here.
Okay, sorry. Squirrel.
Me too. Listen, we're on hour 3. Yeah. It's okay. We're getting through it. We're on hour 3.
So, early on in my career, it was more how I treated other people is really like how it became like apparent, like, oh gosh, like I'm not dealing with my emotions very well with my work. But what later in my career, it became a physical thing, physical symptoms. Physically, I had rashes showing, hives, symptoms of stress, like physically showing in my body, to where it manifested to perioral dermatitis, which was during the pandemic. So I couldn't get in to actually see a doctor. I had to do it virtually. And so I was getting dermatology appointment through a virtual appointment, virtual appointments, and they're prescribing like all these things for me. It was just crazy. And it was like I can't continue operating like this. Like I obviously can't live with putting steroid cream on my face for, for a long period of time. And so trying to calm the stress response that was very inflamed within my body, that was because of an elongated state of working in working overload, working in overdrive. And that's the thing. Burnout, we have to hit full capacity and be trying to operate at full capacity for an extended period of time, for burnout to really set in. And that's why it's so difficult for us to recognize it until we're smack dab in the middle of it, right? Yeah. And I think you experienced that, right? Physically.
Yeah. Physically is what really indicated to me, like, I'm going to die if I don't handle this. Like, my body is going to literally shut down if I don't handle this. Skin irritation, severely itchy, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I was so itchy all the time. Stress response. My hair was falling out in clumps to the point that, like, I had hair extensions for quite a while just because I could not. If you knew me 5 years ago, I had really long hair.
it's short now because I could not handle it. Like it was just pulling out in big clumps. But my biggest one that really made me realize, I was on my period for 8 months straight and I was getting polyps developing in my uterus. And when my doctor said, hey, do you realize this is all stress related, right? This is all like physical burnout and stress related, and it could have been prevented. I was physically ill because I was so anemic because I'd been on my period for 8 months straight with all these polyps and ended up having to have surgery for it. Yeah. And when your doctor's looking at you in the face and saying, hey, you did this, like you could have chosen a different route, it is very heavy. And I was struggling, like I was throwing up constantly, and the doctor's like, I was like, what is wrong with me? And like, everything just came back to stress. Everything that came back to stress. And it's like, but then you're questioning like, well, what's wrong with me? Like I'm doing what I'm being told, and I'm being told to hustle and to do all the things and to achieve the success. And I thought that I was doing it all right, when in reality I was literally killing myself. And being able to take a step back, and I did the extreme thing and I quit my job. I did the very extreme thing and said, I'm done. Which we've talked about, like there's a right and a wrong way to handle it. And maybe that wasn't the rightest way to handle it, but for me at the time it was, because I needed that step to say, hey, I can't live like this anymore. And it wasn't the state of I'm going to work less hard, because I'll always be a hard worker, right? I launched this company almost immediately afterwards, but when I launched it, it was, I'm going to do this with way more intention. And I own a business, so I work 24/7 still, but it's going to be so much more intentional around boundaries, around what that looks like, how I show up, what are my non-negotiables, what are my family non-negotiables, what are my friend non-negotiables, how am I going to show up with my community, and what do those look like? And I didn't have those when I was working in the career that I was in beforehand.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the sneaky thing with burnout too, is like it puts this fog like in our mask, you know? And so like, even if we've been so focused on this mission and our vision was clear all along, all of a sudden our mask is like fogged up and literally we can't see, and we're way below the surface. So taking the mask off and like, you know, spit shining, it isn't going to happen. 100%. It's not going to work right now. So when we're, you know, way under the surface and burnout has, you know, fogged our mask, the mission doesn't matter anymore.
100%.
Because you don't have a vision for the mission anymore. And I think that's where a lot of us get to the place of like just throwing in the towel, quitting, right? Or, you know, that quiet quitting culture, this thing that was going around for so long. And, you know, some generations were, you know, lamenting people for that. And then other generations were like, well, of course this is how we're going to quit, right? Because, but the silent signal behind that was, hey, this is happening to everyone. Like everybody, nobody is immune to this, right? And the hustle culture, that, you know, reaching for the unattainable, the unsustainable is, it's creating, I mean, people are having heart attacks, but under 40 years old. Like there's a pandemic happening, you know, of these stress related conditions based on this unrealistic culture of working. And then you start to get into that separation, right? Like you've had this debate, I think, online with people of, you know, separating personal and business, right? Personal and professional don't need to mix. Well, they are. Business is wholly personal.
Absolutely.
And if not for the person of Kelli behind the business, nobody would be seeking your services, right? And if we didn't see Kelli, we didn't hear Kelli there, well, I wouldn't be magnetized towards you, right? And so because we are starting to embrace that business is personal, my business is me, my business is Kelli, right? Doesn't matter who I'm working for.
100%.
Doesn't matter who's putting the money into my bank account, right? I am this thing, and I have recovered, I have endured burnout over and over again because of the systems I work within, right? And so as a, you know, somebody going into business, owning their own business, going freelance, going, you know, contract, however you want to look at that, making that transition out of being an employee and now being your only employee, right? Department of one. How you those established boundaries you had, what they look like now, right? And how you maintain that, and where you have your downtime. Because yes, as a business owner, you're on 24/7.
100%.
But that is not a sustainable operating mode, right?
Especially as a high achiever.
Yeah.
Especially as someone that really desires, I desire really high success. And I know a lot of my circle does too.
Yeah.
And it's that sacrifice of like, well, I'm going to do this thing, right? Like my rebrand, we've talked about this now 3 times, but my rebrand was one of those seasons that I was like, I have to go all gas on this. Like it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks, nonstop, nights, weekends, evenings, mornings, early, everything. And where I screwed up this is that I didn't have an escape plan for what my deadline was on that. And I'm reflecting going into later this fall, there's some pretty big things happening. October, November is going to be insane. And I know that. And now it's intentionally saying, how am I going to ramp into that? What am I blocking out in September to be at my optimal position for October, November? But what does December look like? And where is my hard cutoff? And what does that look like? And I mean, even just in the 3 hours we've been talking, it's like, does that look like I'm taking a week off, and anyone that's going to be involved in this project, does it look like an Airbnb? And my favorite place in the world is Mount Hood, Oregon. It's my quiet place. There's no self-service there. It's all airplane mode the whole time I'm there. And does it look like renting a cabin with those people that are going to walk through this with me and turning everything off and celebrating and getting hyper present in that? Like, what does that look like? Right. And what is that intentional deadline of what that looks like? And where is that end point? Because I know a lot of people will say like, well, I have to have these seasons that I'm launching this thing, I'm doing this thing, I've got to go all gas, which is great. But like, what does that end hit look like? Because I didn't do that with the rebrand, and it ended up in me canceling everything I had last Sunday. Right. Because I literally could not physically, emotionally, mentally do another thing at all.
You hit the wall.
I literally hit the wall. And I spent a lot of time in the burnout world.
Yeah.
It's something that I talk to a lot of clients about. You coach full, like that is your whole thing.
Yeah.
And even knowing all the resources and the tools, we still do it, right?
Absolutely.
It's something we still struggle with.
Well, it's a high performer, it's a high achiever, it's recovering perfectionist, you know, I mean, it's part of, it's part of our personality, it's part of our character, and it's really learning to funnel that to like benefit us, right? And so doing simple things like, you know, literally writing in your calendar, like you're your own client, right? To make sure you get that one hike in each week, or, you know, making sure every day you're making the 4:30 workout or the 6 a.m. workout, because that's what fills your cup. And you align your schedule around that, right? Because those are the values that drive you and that can make your work sustainable, because without those, no work is going to be sustainable,
100%.
right? Like if I'm not continually trying to fill my cup, nobody else is going to do it,
100%,
right?
it's on you.
And that's where the time and energy, right? Like, what is my capacity? What can I do? And for you had intentionally designed the sort of the runway for your relaunch, right? Or for your launch of your rebrand, because you knew prior years coming into the holidays, you needed to have Q4 needed to be downtime for Kelli, right? And miraculously, this last holiday season, you'd already intentionally designed it to be downtime, and it allowed you space to flourish on the creative side, right? Which years before, you wouldn't have had the capacity to do that during the holiday season, right? And so really, yes, strategic planning was, you were on point with that, right? You just didn't look at, what do we do after we hit the go, right?
100%.
Like we hit that first green light, and now what, you know? But that's where we learn, right? Reflection is hugely powerful.
100%.
And it's absolutely vital to recovering from burnout. Because if you can't identify or recognize what triggers you into that, the people pleasing, the perfectionist, you know, the handful of all of these character traits that we all might have, and if they all consistently raise their head and push us into burnout, we're going to start oppressing them and thinking they're all monsters, the imposter monster, right? Everybody, no one is immune to the imposter syndrome. it's how we channel that energy, right? To keep us in action instead of going into that analysis paralysis.
Which happens really severely when you're in burnout. Like when I'm sitting in a state of burnout, I can't make decisions on anything. Like literally even what I'm going to eat. Like I literally cannot make a decision what I will eat for breakfast. Right. Because my brain has no capacity left for it. Totally. None. Let alone make big life decisions or big career moves or take my company to that next level. Like I literally cannot decide if I want the difference between a banana and an apple.
Yeah.
And but then you're expected to take these huge decisions for, I mean, potentially life-changing decisions in a good way or a bad way with your business. Yeah. Right? And I feel like we just sit in those states for too long.
Totally. Well, and judgment is impaired, right?
100%.
Like, again, going back to science and biology here, like our judgment is impaired when we're in the red zone. Like whether it's fear, anger, like whatever those things are. And when we're in overwhelm from burnout, right? And the bricks have just gotten toppled on top of us. One more brick literally could break that camel's back. Like literally could break your back. So making a decision about what you're having for dinner feels like a life and death decision, when it's really like, it's just a basic human need, right? But you see the same thing with another human basic need, the social connection, right? Where you have that networking event on Thursday night, but you have been going full speed all week long. Like you really just you can't show up because you're not going to be present. But that's that one thing that anchors you that week into one of those basic human needs, all right? So if I don't have to make the decision each week, am I going to go to that thing on Thursday night? It's just ingrained in me that I know that that's something Kelli needs that's going to push the needle a little further each week into the good zone. It becomes part of my routine. And it doesn't push the needle towards burnout at all because it's part of the values that are aligning with the life I want to design, right?
100%.
And so that's where burnout recovery, right? Like it's not to say burnout is not going to present itself again to me. I'm not going to continue to encounter these situations that I could fall back into, right? Same with you, right? You just did it to yourself again. And instead of letting that cycle break Kelli down, like, oh my gosh, how did I do that to myself? You're using it to fuel your action in the future, right?
100%.
How can I do this better next time?
But it's because I have people that hold me accountable. And my community has become huge in that because I sat in a community of people that celebrated burnout because it meant we were working really hard, which was beautiful, right? Like we want to celebrate working really hard. But the community that I've got around me right now, it's, hey, why did that happen? And there's a handful of people that know what's coming this fall. And those same people are already telling me like, hey girl, like that just happened to you. The internet celebrated me because I was honest about it, right? It was probably one of my most liked stories that I've ever posted. Like 350 likes on a story I've never had. Usually it's like 4. Me, you, my people, right? My people like my stuff. But it had like 350 likes on it. And I had so many people that were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing this, which is why I'm a big believer that you should have one social media. And I know people have a hot take on that you shouldn't blend work and personal, but like I am who I am and you're going to see the whole thing regardless. So I already believe that you shouldn't do those things. But those people in my life, I had those people that messaged me and said, hey, I appreciate you for sharing this, but why did it happen? And I know you have this big fall coming up. And what is that going to look like for you? And how are you going to plan for that? And when you have a community of people that are on your team that are also high achievers, that also understand burnout and understand the importance of community, those are my people that are also saying, hey, how are you going to pre-plan for this? But how does this not happen even week to week, right? Like, what do you need to fill your cup? Does it look like dinner with friends and board games and disconnecting from the work? And who is that time spent with? Because I've done it with energy drainers and I've done it with people that are really fulfill my life. And part of designing a life that I love includes that community of I want to be around people that really fill my cup. I mean, I've had dinner at your house, right? We've played board games at your house and shared meals are like my love language. Like there's something about community and potlucks of like everyone brings something. There's this like shared experience of giving and eating that is really, really important to me. And designing that into your life and bringing that sense of community with the right people can change everything. having the right people around you can change everything.
Absolutely.
And being really present with those people can change everything, and realizing that like, hey, if I'm not working all day Saturday because I'm being present with my people, I'm going hiking, I'm doing dinner with people, your business will still be fine.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the times those perfectionists don't see that, right? We feel like if we let go of anything, or one email takes until next Monday to answer, what does that look like, right?
Yeah. Well, and for me, if I'm giving my friends, my family, those people that I love so much, grace in, learning how to, tripping and getting back up and falling down again, even after you just tripped over the same thing, and I give them grace to do that. Why am I not offering the same thing to myself?
100%.
And that's where being really hard on ourselves, being our own worst critic, can really be damaging to the motivator within us as well.
Gosh.
And so when you step back and you're like, oh my gosh, I hit burnout and it's because of this, right? It's usually, we're at a place where we can reflect, like the fog has lifted a little bit. We can actually go back and reflect and be like, oh, I hit full capacity way before I even got close to the finish line. So next time, part of my strategic planning isn't just talking about the briefing ahead of time, right? Like getting prepared for this event. No. It's also the debriefing.
100%.
And the debriefing side of it is something we only learn the value of by doing the action and then reflecting on it, right? Yeah. There's no point in debriefing if you never took action, right?
100%.
The debrief can't even be enabled if the action didn't happen in the first place. And that's where you see the beauty in strategic planning. Doesn't always necessarily have to include after the finish line.
Yeah.
Because you have to get to the whole plan is to get to the finish line, right? And so that's where the finish line is the success, right? That's what we've been taught and we've been conditioned to believe. But after we hit that finish line time and time again, and we're getting there and it's like, we're not quite fulfilled and we're totally burned out. Like, how did I do this again and again? Yeah. And then we see the beauty in that debriefing, the reflection zone of how can I do it better next time, right? And that's where burnout, that's where recovery actually becomes possible, and prevention in the future might actually be attainable, because we're seeing what it is that triggers us, right? Where am I getting misaligned with my values?
Yeah.
Was it just because of this one project? Was it because of this one, this path I decided to take? This one plan, this workbook I decided to make, which it failed. It's a huge failure, but I keep lamenting myself about it because, well, why don't I just move on? What's the big deal, Yeah. And so I think some of us, the perfectionist for me, can perpetuate burnout.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh, why didn't I do it better? Why didn't I do it like this? That analysis over and over again, when really that's just stopping me from taking action on the next thing.
100%. Oh, and that failing fast is one of my big things. I'm a big fail fast person because I've done it, right? I've beat myself up for years over certain things, and when we can just move on, like the amount of energy, when I'm thinking about a lot of burnout stuff now, it's so much around like, but is this worth my energy? Is this worth my energy? Because I spent years and years and years putting my energy in all the wrong places. Right. And I mean, that's everything, right? That's everything. And you talk a lot about mission and values. And I'm a big mission values person too. And finding those things when we fail of like, but did it hit any of my values? Probably. If you were doing it intentionally, it probably hit your values and it still was worth it. Yeah. But move on so that you can keep serving that value. One of my big values is human connection. And if it served a point of human connection, I'm happy with it. Even if it failed from a financial standpoint or from a success numbers, a KPI standpoint, if I got human connection, did it really fail, right? Or can I keep moving and start focusing on people in a different way? And there's so much power when you can hang on to whatever that value is. Especially when it comes to burnout, and especially when, I know for me, my burnout shows a lot in severe anxiety. I've struggled with anxiety my entire life. I was a little girl, struggled with anxiety. I've taken every amount of medication that you could ever come up with to manage it. And when I decided that I was going to start self-managing to see how much was environmentally fueled. And I started realizing that so much of this was like, I was putting it on myself. It was the anxiety of what's next. It's the anxiety of what's next in my day. If something derailed me, it threw everything off.
Yep.
And if I ran into you at the coffee shop that we're both always at, and in my head, I'm like, but I have to write 9 emails. I would already be thinking about the 9 emails instead of, oh my gosh, how cool that I ran into you and I get to hug you and I get to be present with you for 10 minutes and catch up with your day. I didn't give 2 craps about you and your day. I was like, but my 10 emails, because that's what anxiety would do for me.
Yeah.
And until I got out of that cycle of burnout, now in my head, my point is human connection every time. So getting to see you, hug you, and spend time with you for 10 minutes, way more value. My emails will still be there. But
Or
that's
3 hours.
hard. Yeah, or 3 hours. It's usually 3 hours because it's us. And we like to record things multiple times.
Yeah.
But it's that state of like, it'll all still be there. Work travel, right? We've talked about work travel a lot. It's the same thing. When I did work travel, I just assumed that whatever that work thing was, it was like, okay, that's my 8 hours that day, but my emails and everything else that I would be doing normally in my 8 hours still have to happen.
Right.
And I was working 20-hour days when I was traveling and sleeping like 3 hours a night. And I thought that's how it had to be.
Yeah.
And you and I are getting ready to do a trip in March, which is super exciting. And I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity, especially because there's a whole element that people think that because we're in the same space that we should be competitive, like competitors.
Yeah.
And instead we found this opportunity to work together.
Yeah.
And in my head going into this, it's like, but how can this serve us as humans and human connection and experience and life? And how can that be present and intentional instead of this, like, I don't need to be writing emails at 4:30 in the morning to catch up. I want to go have breakfast at these places on my bucket list in Bozeman.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You can design a life you love and still be really successful.
Absolutely. Well, and again, this comes back to capacity. You know, you were talking about that, you know, personal and professional accounts and this debate back and forth. You know, do you have capacity to have multiple social media accounts?
Like, I hardly have capacity to have one.
Right. I'm like, I can barely keep, the animals alive at my house. Like, I don't need any more social media to try and manage, right? So when we think about where do I have capacity to spend, like, where do I have energy or time? What, these finite resources, where do I want to be expending them?
Yes. Yep.
And yes, sometimes our work, we don't have control over all of those
100%.
things, right? But if we're only at so much capacity with that work, let's say I'm 80% capacity with my full-time job, I only have 20% capacity left within me for anything outside of that. I need to choose wisely how I'm applying that 20%, right?
Absolutely.
And I need to be honest with those people. Hey, you know what? I had a really full week, Kelli.
Yeah.
I really want dinner with you tonight, but I'm probably going to mostly be speechless.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay with that. I really want to see you and say, but being open with the people that you care about, that you do this thing with, what? Hey, I'm going to show up in my work clothes. I've been in them all day. I'm going to be barefoot because my feet hurt and my feet are going to stink because they're leather heels. Will you still have dinner with me? I probably don't want to talk either because I've talked all day,
Yep.
And you might be like, well, no, I really wanted some deep conversation tonight. So can we have breakfast tomorrow instead, or whatever it might be. But it's feeling safe and comfortable and trusting to be open about it, right?
Well, that changes everything in your circle.
Huge.
I have people in my life that'll say, hey, I'm going to come over to your house because my house is my sacred space. And if you get invited to my house, it's a whole different level of sacred for me. And I have friends that'll say, I'm coming over, I'm wearing my pajamas, and don't talk to me. I just want to sit on your couch and I want to scroll social media and rot and I want to watch movies and I want to eat.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me. But I need your physical presence. And when you can say that to someone and you don't feel like you have to show up with a mask and a different world, changes everything when you have those people in your life. That I can go to your house in my sweatpants and no one is going to ask me why I didn't get ready today. Right? I can just stand at the counter and pick at snacks in my sweats and no one judges me for that.
Right, exactly.
And that's one less thing that I have to worry about showing up with a mask on.
Right.
And finding your community that you have that with is super powerful. The people that cheer you on, the people that support you, the people that love you who you are, which is why I believe you should only have one social media.
Yes.
It's why I believe because why are we hiding behind a mask? Because I did it for years.
Right.
I did it for years. I hid behind a mask for years, behind my brand, which is where my rebrand came from, because I thought I needed to be who someone wanted me to see. And I mean, you're in the legal space, right? And so there's this idea of, what does someone in the legal space look like?
Right.
What do they look like?
Yeah.
And when you can show up and say, but this is who I am, the right people will show up for you.
Right.
And then you don't have to spend all this energy pretending
Totally.
and acting and creating this image that you're not, because I did it.
Well, and it's exhausting, but it's also like a fast track to burnout, right?
100%. I think it's what most of my burnouts come from.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people experience that because this persona that they have online is not the reality of their world and their life.
Yeah.
And then when we see somebody on social media and they're being like real, honest, and vulnerable, we're like, oh my God, I love this person. And it's like,
100%.
okay, just channel that. Just freaking be you, right?
100%.
Like, and yeah, I mean, yes, I have a sailor mouth, but in the context of my professional setting, I don't cuss because there's reason and rhyme for that, right? But and then with certain clients, I maybe would use different language or vocabulary because that's where they're comfortable. I want to meet them where they're at, right? And so in the legal space, we see access is very dependent on aesthetics a lot of times, and those two things don't equal each other, but they also don't equate justice in any sense of the form. And so when we think about accessibility for leadership or business owners or for, people who want to have a side hustle that's really successful, but they want to sustain full-time work somewhere else. How do we do that, right? Well, the only way it's going to happen is by talking to the people in your network and figuring out how to delegate things that aren't in your lane, right? But also to be honest about your capacity. And that's where having that network, learning to lean into it and be open to those conversations that kind of crack you a little deeper, right?
Ooh, delegation is such a powerful thing too, because I'm a personality that wants to do it all myself. And when I started delegating, little things changed everything for me, and tapping into people that are really good at things and hiring things out. And the rebrand is where I'm just coming out of, and what I'm moving into in the next season, like I'm able to achieve so many more goals because I've been willing to delegate to people instead of feeling like I need to be this Jane of all trades that can do it all. I can't do it all. I can't do it all. And as soon as I felt comfortable saying, who can I hire for this? Who in my network is really talented at this? Where can I build business with other people? How can I let people in to do this with me? It changed everything. Because then it wasn't just me against the world. It was a whole community of people on the same mission.
Well, the other beautiful sort of result of that change in a mindset is you start to see your value differently. Because I'm like, oh God, it would take me 17 hours to build this workbench over here, How much would I be willing to pay somebody else to do it, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, my neighbor across the street, he does woodwork. I'll go ask him. Oh, he said it'd be $250. And I'm like, wait, that's like a whole day that's 2 days of my, or whatever it might be, doing the math of what an hour of your time is valued as, right? And in the legal world, time is money, right? That's how it is. I mean, we bill it every 6 minutes, right?
Yep.
That's cha-ching, cha-ching every time. So when I think about that as a transaction, like my time, what is a dollar value of an hour to me?
Yeah.
How much am I willing to pay somebody else to do something that's going to take me a lot longer to do?
100%.
And I'll probably have to make 17 trips to Home Depot, right? So the expenditure of my resources is far, far deeper than if I just went to the professional or the expert and delegated to them in the first place,
100%.
right?
Well, energy is currency. Your energy is currency.
Absolutely.
And even for me, when I was looking at building a logo, something so simple. I am not creative in creating logos. And I had a logo that I hated. But I was like, well, it was free on Canva. But it wasn't conveying my brand. It wasn't conveying what I was trying to do. Photos were the same way. It wasn't conveying anything. I paid people for their professional aesthetic and things, But my lack of, like, my energy that I didn't have to put into something changed. I was not overthinking things. It was like, I hired this out. Now I'm not thinking about this for the next 6 weeks. No, I'm paying someone to carry that load.
Yeah.
I'm paying someone to carry that energy, frees up everything so that I have time to do the things that fill my cup, that I'm not sitting in worry constantly about all these things. And even in my community, being able to talk through things.
Right.
Having someone that I can call and say, hey, let me walk through this really fast with you. Now it's out of my brain. I've consulted with someone I trust and I've moved on, instead of just dwelling for hours and hours and hours and hours on one thing.
Well, and the other side of that is, you're not now you're no longer feeling like you have to do this all alone, right? Like, it's so overwhelming when as a business owner, you're like, I have to do all of these things. I have to figure out how to be HR and, ingoing and outgoing, like 1,700 different roles as one single person, right? Your department of one. So as that, like, oh, you find a sounding board for just this one thing that you know nothing about. But then the beauty of it, like you and I in a conversation, we might have a conversation about something neither one of us know much about, but through that conversation, we gain so much more insight and information just by chewing on it together.
100%.
And that's where that beauty of business building, relationship building, isn't just about making a business successful, right? It's about feeding into the people that are behind the business.
Absolutely.
And that's where we see, the next, your logo, right? It's not just that you needed somebody else that this was their lane doing logo. It's somebody else that does incredible work.
Absolutely.
And you want to empower that business to excel because you know of their potential, right? And that's that beauty of this community collective rise, where collectively we can make such a larger impact, right? Because I'm not trying to do it all. We're not, any one of us is trying to do it all ourselves.
No.
We're all excelling in our lane and where we are gifted and skilled. And that just makes it, it just makes life in general much more enriched. I just feel like the community that you pay into can enrich your life beyond what any, monetary item.
Absolutely. Which comes full circle to settling some of that burnout.
Yeah.
And being able to live in that sense of community when you can get some of that workload taken off of you and you can work together on certain things, and it doesn't have to be done alone. It doesn't have to be done alone. And you can do things in community with people and take some of that off. And that's so much of designing a life that you love, right? Is who are you spending your time with? Are they celebrating, enriching, and loving you? Are they supportive? Are they also lifting you up? Or are they draining you? And it doesn't make someone a bad person.
No.
It just might mean that they're not your community.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's scary to go out and find that community and find those people that are for you, that are for you in your world, that are looking to do that same journey. And like I said, I mean, people sit at different tables, right? We all get to sit at different tables, but finding that table you sit at can change everything.
Absolutely. Well, and that sense of belonging, again, when you feel like you belong somewhere, creativity starts to flow. Your heart, your brain, they open in ways that when you are feeling uncomfortable or don't feel like you fit in, you can't flourish,
Absolutely.
And so being able to show other people, you have this beautiful gift of showing and being transparent to others what your process has been and your whys, right? And that's where your whys align with your values, right? Which then means the action you're taking is also aligned with your values. And sometimes that might lead us right back to burnout, right? However, it leads us back to burnout with a different perspective on acknowledging that you've gotten there, accepting that you've gotten there, and knowing, oh, I can overcome this. I've overcome it before. I just need to see what it was that got me into this in the first place, right? And then realign and keep going.
Yep.
And that's then again back to that community thing. I can fall back on my community and say, I'm flailing. Like, I had a really hard week. I can't find the, and we can talk about it. And you may not give me any clearer vision, but I'm at least getting some of that energy out of me.
Yep.
And my masks might become a little less foggy, you know? And so community, I think it's probably, even when you look at like Maslow's, hierarchy of the human needs, like there's a reason that social connection is right at the foundation of that. And so, but again, that can be a capacity push, right? Mm-hmm. That Thursday night networking, I had a busy week. I'm going to go and I'm not going to be present. I just shouldn't go, right? But it's also the one thing that refills my cup.
Yep.
So I know that I need to have that be the regular thing, right? Yeah. So knowing what our values are and aligning it. And that's really breaking the burnout cycle. That's what the programming is around that, right? Yeah. A lot of self-reflection, a lot of introflection of like, what do I want? What life do I want to design? Like, I'm an architect of my world, and where do I want it to look like?
Yeah.
Which changes as we evolve.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing your heart and your vulnerability for the third time.
Yeah.
For the third time with me.
This time you got not just tears. So.
We're going to do all the things. But I appreciate you sharing that, because I know that just there's so many of us that struggle with this, and I appreciate you being willing. Unfortunately, being my friend, you get shoved into these situations of being vulnerable and sharing your heart and sharing kind of that experience, because I think there's so much value in showing up vulnerably and showing up with our stories and showing up with where we're being really successful and how we're getting there. And I appreciate your time and your energy and 3 takes on this. So
yeah. Thanks for having me here.
Of course.
I got an invite to the house, the inner sanctum, and I got 3 hours with you on a holiday.
We love it. Woo! We love it. Well, I appreciate you. We'll see everyone next week, and thanks for watching.